Good morning. My name is Corey Gaddy. We'll have Joe here on the line. He's going to start off the webinar. He should be unmuted and he should be ready to go.
Good morning, folks. First of all, I want to, welcome everybody. Thanks for taking some time out of your busy schedules to join us this morning. We're going to be covering a webinar on scratching the surface with Civil 3D. So Corey's going to, lead us through the, technical portion of things. But first, just kind of wanted to, introduce myself. My name is Joe Tancredi. I am an account executive over here at TPM. So my mission here is basically to enable project collaborators within the AEC space to imagine, design, and make a better world. So essentially what I am is, I'll be, for those who know you, welcome. For those who don't know me, pleasure to meet you. So I'd basically be your point of contact here for, various things such as, AEC software, AutoCAD, of course, things like Revit, Civil 3D, as well as, the BIM 360 products as well, too. So if you ever have a particular need, feel free to reach out. We'll be more than happy to help you. Kind of turn things over to Corey for a second so he can introduce himself as well.
Good morning. My name is Corey Gaddy. I'm a technical solutions consultant over here at TPM. My specialty is Autodesk Civil 3D as well as Bluebeam. So those are the two products that I train and support on. My mission is to help optimize the design community through standardization and training. I have 10 plus years of experience doing civil site design as well as teaching. So that's kind of the angle I'm coming from. And like I said, I support and train on Autodesk Civil 3D as well as Bluebeam.
During the webinar, we're going to have the ability for you folks to, kind of chat in and ask any questions that you do have. As you can see on the side, there's that little orange bar where you can, type in your particular questions. You can also collapse that as well, too. But really want to make this as interactive as possible. So if you do have any questions, feel free to, chat them throughout the presentation, and we'll be able to, kind of answer those questions for you, make sure we address all your concerns, and really kind of make this open conversation as much as possible here. So we definitely do welcome those questions as they come. Now, before we kind of jump into things, I just want to give you a little bit of background on, TPM. Now, for a lot of you folks, you might just think of us as the individual that would provide you guys with your, Autodesk software. But, we kind of go a little bit more and go deeper than that. A little bit of background on us. TPM has been around for over 45 years. We actually started as a one-man kind of print shop in Jerry Cooper, our owner's, garage. And, from there have grown to become one of the largest Autodesk resellers in the Carolinas, spanning over 6 different offices. So, we cover, all the Carolinas. We dip down into, Georgia a bit, as well as Virginia, too. So, we have offices, at Charlotte, Greenville, Columbia, Raleigh. So we pretty much, covered the gamut as far as things are concerned. Now, we've grown to become over 100 employees with over 3,000 customers and 20,000 seats of software over the course of our time. And really what separates us from other resellers out there is the people that we do have. We like to think that we have that the big company resources with that, family-friendly feel. So, we like things to stay local, keep that in the Carolinas here as well, too. Now, I mentioned, we kind of started out in the print-based business, but, as of now, most of our particular business rolls around the software and hardware as well as training. 10% of our business is now is still on the printings and, graphics, wall murals, things like that. But, we also do some other things, large and small format solutions, such as, OC plotters, large format scanners, 3D laser services. We can do scanning services as well, too. So for any of those who are interested or doing work with preservation or as-built, as well as providing all sorts of different technical training and support for, whatever the case may be, if it's a, civil class, or we can even do customized training for those folks out there as well, too. And as you can see, the AEC software I've touched on, also handle the manufacturing side of things, with SolidWorks and all the data management and document solution needs there, too. So we like to, use the additive as far as, being a one-stop shop for folks. So, automate, accelerate, and consolidate all of your particular vendors into one under the TPM banner. Now, without further ado, let's kind of dive a little bit more into, kind of the meat and potatoes of things here. So what I was going to do is kick it over to Corey, and he can kind of go through the presentation. And like I said, at any point, if you have any questions, definitely feel free to just type those in the chat window, and we can answer those as they come.
All right. Good morning. So today we're going to talk about scratching the surface. We're going to talk about surfaces in Civil 3D. And I thought this was an important topic to do a webinar on because I feel like this is one of the #1 reasons why people don't take advantage of Civil 3D as a software. A lot of people are utilizing Civil 3D, but more in an AutoCAD format and not taking advantage of the three-dimensional tools inside of the program. And so one of the main complaints about Civil 3D is the way surfaces are created and the output and how they look once those surfaces are created. So I want to go through a couple of quick tip ways to be efficient when creating surfaces. So some of the major topics I'm going to talk about are going to be surface creation itself using feature lines as well as contours to create those surfaces. Then I want to quickly talk about grading objects. Not going to get too deep into grading objects, but I want to quickly talk about how to utilize those as well into your surface. And then we're going to talk about surface pasting and why surface pasting, the order matters whenever you're doing surface pasting. And then also the bigger thing that we want to talk about is surface cleanup and how to make those contours look nice and smooth once those contours are created. Some of the quick tip ways to make those surfaces look nice and smooth. All right, so let me get into the software a little bit here. This is the 2020 version of the software, Civil 3D. Now, I will mention that I've done a few things to this file ahead of time to prepare this file. So this is not sort of from a start from scratch type of situation. There has been some design already performed for this file. So I've already created feature lines associated with this parking lot here, okay? And then I also have some contours associated with this pond as well as this building. All right, so that's kind of already been done up front. We've sort of figured out generally how we want this site to flow and how we like for things to go on this site. Some of that preliminary design has already been done for you. Okay, so to start with, we're going to start by creating us a new surface. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead into this file, go ahead and create myself a new surface here. Okay, and we have our existing surface in the background, and I'm going to go ahead and make us a proposed surface really quick. And I'm just going to call it proposed surface and go ahead and get that instance of the surface created. Go ahead and give myself a style really quick. All right, proposed surface style, and go ahead and get that surface inside of our tool space over here. So we have our surface in the tool space. All right, no information inside of that surface yet, but we at least have the instance of the surface created over here in our tool space. All right, so the first thing I'm going to go ahead and do is go ahead and take the feature lines that I have for the parking lot. Like I said, this work was done ahead of time to figure out how we want this parking lot to flow. Okay. So I can grab the feature lines for the parking lot, face the curb, and the back of curb throughout the site. All right. Got a couple islands here. Go ahead and grab those. Okay, and then I have a little grade break in the middle of the site there. I'm going to grab that grade break as well as this inlet. Okay. All right, and then I'm just going to right click and go ahead and add that to my surface. Okay, so it looks like I got something extra here. Let me see there. I think that might not be a feature line. Okay, so I can go ahead and add this to the surface. I'm going to add it to my proposed surface. Okay, go ahead and give it a description. I'm just going to call it parking lot curb. Okay. Get weeding factors here. I like to use 0.01, 0.01, 0.1, and 0.1. That gives me a very small range here for my weeding and my supplemental factors. I want to populate that as much as possible so I can get an accurate surface. All right, so I've added that curbing in. So we've quickly got a couple contours here for the parking lot. All right. inside of this surface. Okay, so I have this surface here created out of feature lines there in the parking lot. All right, so we've already got that sort of general surface started there, and that was just out of feature lines. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and add a couple polylines to the surface for my pond over here. So here's my pond. All right, and then I also have a couple polylines associated with my building, so I'm going to go ahead and add those as well. All right, so that's my building and my pond. All right, those are going to be added in as contours to the surface. So I'll go ahead and definition, contours, and then I'm going to go ahead and right click and add. Okay, and I'll just call those pond and building. Just give myself a way to know what I'm adding here. I'll use the same weeding factors. All right, and add those to the surface. All right, so you can quickly see here we have a pond inside of the building, or inside of the surface. All right, and we also have our building there on the surface as well. All right, and so the last thing I want to do is, my water right now is going straight towards this building from my existing surface here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add myself a little diversion around the building. So I have a couple feature lines I've already created as a ditch back here behind the building. Okay, so I'm just going to grab those feature lines, and I'm going to add those to the surface as well to create myself a little diversion around the building. Like I said, some of this has been done ahead of time in terms of the design here. All right, so my proposed surface there, I'm adding those to it, and I'll just call that diversion. Same weeding factors that I used before. Okay. All right, so now you can see I have my diversion. Okay, so now the water is coming here, sort of hitting a little high point, going around the building to the front towards the parking lot. Same thing here, hits sort of a high point, and it's being diverted around the back of the building through this ditch. Okay. All right, so that's most of my surface in terms of my parking lot and my building. Okay, so that's sort of already designed. All right, so at this point, I need to tie back into existing. I'm going to go ahead and mention that out here in the driveway, okay, I'll use a corridor to do that grading, okay? It's a long, sort of uniform driveway. So instead of using feature lines, I'll use a corridor for that, okay? And that corridor has been created. And I'll show you how we want to add that to the surface, okay? But that's what we're going to do out there, okay? So for now, we're going to go ahead and try to tie into existing, okay, back to our existing surface, okay? So what we'll need to tie into our existing surface is just a general polyline that we'll use as a feature line. So we'll take a polyline, turn it into a feature line, and then we'll use that polyline to create ourselves a grading object to get us back to the existing grade here. Okay, so I have this polyline that's going to represent the outside of this surface. So let me send this surface to the back really quick so I can access that polyline. Okay, so here's my polyline. Okay, this is just going to represent the outside of that surface I just created. Okay, all right. I made that polyline into a feature line. So if you look at its properties, it is now a feature line. Okay, and I'm just going to take that feature line and I'll add it. I'll use it as the grading object. So that's going to be my boundary for my grading object. Okay, so now I create my grading object. All right, I'll go up here to Home and Grading. I'll do grading creation tools. Okay. And then I usually just go across this menu up top here. All right. So you'll want to make sure that your site is correct. So whatever site your feature line is the site you'll want your grading group on, which for me is site 1. So I'll go ahead and utilize site 1. Then it gives me a chance to name my grading group as well at this point. All right. I'm just going to leave that as grading group 1. You could call it whatever you want it to, here by creating a new group, giving a new name, so on. All right. So that should be good. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on my target surface button here. So the target surface is the surface I'm trying to tie into. Okay. So for me, that is the existing surface is what I'm trying to tie into. So I want to make sure I have the existing surface selected here. All right. I'll hit OK there. All right. I can set layers for my grading object here if I wanted my grading object to be on a certain layer. Okay. All right, and then I'm going to go over here to the way that I'm going to create my grading, which for us, for this one, is going to be grade to surface. Okay. So I want to tie back into my existing surface, so I'm going to select grade to surface. All right, so I have my surface there. I could affect my surface, the style there for my grading type, okay, by clicking on this guy. I could affect the properties there. All right, well, we should be good to go there, so I'm not going to worry about that. So now I'll go ahead and create my grading. All right. All right, so the first thing it's going to ask me to do is select the feature that I want to use to start grading from, okay? And so that's going to be that feature line that I created for the outside of that surface. That's going to be this guy here. All right, I do want to mention at this time that depending on how populated this line is, depending on how many nodes I have on this line, it's going to determine how quickly this grading object is created. So you want to make sure that you keep this line fairly simple in terms of its nodes, okay? Because if we look back, let me go ahead and select this guy first, and then we'll look back at it. Okay, right now it gives me the option to weed the feature if I wanted to get rid of some of those nodes, okay? I'm confident in my line because I created it. I kind of know what's optimal for that grading object, so I'm just going to go ahead and go without weeding that object. All right, and then it asks me what side I want to grade to. So at this point, I can grade back to existing on the inside of that line or on the outside of that line. Okay, so I want to grade to the outside of that line because I want to tie into the existing outside of that surface I created. So I'm going to go ahead and select outside of that line. So I'm just clicking here, outside of that line. All right, it asks the entire length. Yes, we're going to go the entire length till we tie into that surface. So I'm going to hit enter for yes. All right, now it wants to know when we're in a cut situation, what do we want our slope to be? And when we're in a fill situation, what do we want our slope to be? All right, so we can do it by grade using a percent, or we can do it by slope, 3 to 1, 2 to 1, so on. So I'm going to go ahead and enter for slope. All right. And for me, in both situations, I'm going to do 3 to 1. All right, so whether I'm in cut or fill, I'm going to utilize a 3 to 1 slope. So I'm going to go ahead and type in a 3 at this point. All right, and then the same thing for my fill. All right, I'm going to use slope for that as well. And then I want to use a 3 to 1 slope for that situation. So I'm going to go ahead and type in a 3 at this point. I could do 3 colon 1 or just the 3. Okay. All right, so now it's attempting to create the grading. And like I said, depending on how populated that original line is going to determine how long this process takes. If this is a huge site, it's definitely going to take longer than if it was a smaller site like this one. Okay. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and hit enter now to get out of that command. Okay. Actually, I hit escape to get out of that command. And you can see here that this is my grading object. Okay, so this is what's created as the grading object. All right, and this is where it wants to tie back into this existing surface for my grading object. All right, so I could utilize the grading object itself, okay, or I could utilize the feature line that represents the exterior, the outer edge of that grading object. Okay, so if I click here, it's actually created a feature line for me. All right. So what I like to do is, instead of utilizing that grading object and showing the contours associated with the grading object itself, I like to go ahead and just add that feature line to my surface. Okay. So this is where it found going 3 to 1 from that line I put in. This is where it wants to tie in to my existing surface. Okay. So I can take that feature line and just go ahead and add that feature line to my surface. Okay. So at this time, I'm just going to go ahead and right click and add that feature line to my surface. Okay. It's going to be the proposed surface. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK there. All right. I'll give it a name. Just gonna call it tie-in. Same weeding factors. Okay. And then I'm gonna go ahead and hit OK. All right, so you'll notice that now that feature line is now part of the surface. You can see pretty cleanly how outside of that pond, we've got a nice 3-to-1 slope on that surface. Okay. Same thing over here on my ditch. Outside of my ditch, nice 3-to-1 slope there for the ditch. Okay. And same thing outside of the curb here, nice 3-to-1 slope from the curb back to existing there. And if you look at the contours, you'll see that our contours are tying in right back into the existing contours. Okay. So they hit the existing surface pretty accurately outside of our surface here. All right. So we've got a nice clean grading situation from our pond using polylines. All right, we use the grading object to get a nice clean tie-in. All right. And then we used feature lines back here on the ditch, okay, to give ourselves a nice clean ditch back here. So that grading looks pretty nice and clean. Okay. All right, so far we've got a pretty clean surface. The only thing that looks a little jagged so far is the parking lot. Okay. And then out here in our landscaped area between the pond and the parking lot, okay, it's a little jagged in that area. Okay, so we'll want to clean that up. All right. So what I'm going to do in order to clean that up, first I want to go ahead and get my corridor out here on my road as a part of my surface. Okay. And then I'm going to show you how to go ahead and clean up your contours out here in your parking lot as well as the landscape area over here. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and save that file. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and create myself a data shortcut out of that surface really quick so I can utilize it in another file. Okay, let me just minimize a few things here. Okay, so down here in the data shortcuts, I've already set my working folder. Okay, I've created a new data shortcuts project folder as well as set that shortcuts folder, and I've already associated my project to my current drawing. So I'll just do that again to show you here. You want to make sure your project is associated to the current drawing for your data shortcut. Okay, so I have mine in my webinar folder, scratching the surface. Okay, so now I can go ahead and create my data shortcut. All right, so I'm just going to utilize that proposed surface as my data shortcut. Okay, and then I'll hit OK. Okay, so you should see that proposed surface show up in your data shortcuts section here. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and save that file. All right, so now I have that surface in this file. I'm gonna go ahead and create me a file for my overall surface. All right, and I called it advanced surface here. So this number 5, advanced surface. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on that file. All right, so in the advanced surface file, what you'll see is that I've actually went ahead and created a data shortcut out of my drive surface, which was my corridor. Okay, and that corridor came out of another file here that I had. This is file number 4, proposed corridor. So this is where I created my corridor. I'm not going to go through creating that corridor, but this is what that corridor would look like. Okay, that corridor was based on a profile that I created. Okay. So I created a profile for that road, and then I created a corridor out of it. Okay, and then I made a surface out of that corridor, and this is what that corridor surface looked like. Okay, all right. So now I have that corridor surface. I went ahead and made a data shortcut out of it. Okay, it's called proposed drive surface. All right, and so then in this number 5 file, this advanced surface file, I went ahead and referenced that corridor into this file. Okay, so there's that corridor. Okay, I also want to reference in my proposed surface for my driveway, or excuse me, for my parking lot as well as my building, and that pond. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and reference that surface in. So here it is, proposed surface. So I'll go ahead and reference that surface into this file. So I'm just going to go ahead and right click on proposed surface and create reference. All right. And then the style I'm going to use is proposed surface. Go ahead and hit OK. All right, so here's that surface referenced into this file. All right. So now I have that surface referenced in as well as my corridor. So both of those surfaces are in this file. All right. So I want to go ahead now and create myself an overall surface that incorporates both of these. Okay. All right. So this will get into pasting a surface and how that paste works. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and create me a new overall surface inside of this file. So I'll go over here to surfaces. All right. I'm going to right click on surface, create surface. And this is going to be my overall surface. So I'm just going to call it overall surface. Give it a style, proposed surface. Okay, and I'm going to hit OK. All right. So at this point, what you'll notice is this is our corridor surface. Okay, it just creates the grading out here in the driveway. This is our proposed surface for the parking lot. Okay, so it just takes over once you get to the parking lot here. Okay, but right now we don't have both of these as a part of the same surface. So I'm going to go ahead and make those a part of the same surface. All right, so that's going to be a part of my overall surface. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the plus symbol here. All right, and I'll go to definition. All right, and then I'm going to go over here to edits, and this is where I'm going to paste my surfaces. Okay, so now I want to talk about pasting surfaces. Okay, so the order in which you paste your surfaces can make a difference. Okay, so for us, for this surface, we have this surface that takes over for the parking lot, and we have this other surface that incorporates the driveway. So we don't have any overlap at this point between our surfaces because one starts where the other one ends. Okay. All right. If we had a scenario where we had an overall surface, for example, this existing grade here, okay, and I wanted to get this proposed surface incorporated into that overall surface, okay, the order that you paste this surface is going to make a difference, okay, and I'll show you how that works. All right. So right now I have this overall surface for my existing out here, okay. And right now I'm going to, we're going to act like we're going to take this overall surface and make it a part of my overall that I created over here, this overall surface here. So let me show you what will happen depending on the order in which I paste these two surfaces, okay? So if I start with this overall one here, my existing grade, and I go ahead and paste it into this surface, I'm going to go ahead and right click on edits, paste surface, and I'll grab, at this point, I'll go ahead and grab that existing surface, which is that outer surface. Okay. You'll see that this overall surface now looks like that existing surface. Okay. All right, that's the overall surface. If I look at the properties here, this is the overall surface. All right, so if I come back now and I paste that smaller surface, let me show you what it's going to do. So now I'll go back and I'll go to edits, right click, paste. Okay. And this time I'll go ahead and paste my proposed surface for the parking lot. Okay. And I'm going to get it inside of that surface. Okay. So what you'll notice is that it took that existing surface out here, okay, and it incorporated my driveway. So now this surface looks like the existing outside of the driveway surface, and then I have my driveway surface inside of it. Okay, so it nice and cleanly incorporates the two, it merges the two surfaces into one. Okay, and that's because I did the overall, the one that was the outer surface, the one that was the existing grade, I did that one first, and then I pasted the parking lot. Okay, so the parking lot was pasted second, and so it just took over the area where it was. So it took over the area where it lied, which was right here in this little section. Okay, that's because I pasted it second. All right. All right. So now I'm going to show you what will happen if I did it in the opposite order. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and undo. Okay. All right. So now I have my overall surface here. I don't have anything pasted in it yet. So this time I'm going to go ahead and paste that smaller surface first. Okay. So I'm going to paste surface, and I'm going to grab the parking lot here, that smaller one. I'm going to go ahead and paste it. Okay. All right. So what you'll notice that this is now my overall surface. Okay. It just looks like the parking lot, that parking lot surface. All right. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to paste the existing surface second this time. Okay. I'm going to paste that existing surface second. All right. And when I paste it second now, what you'll notice is my overall surface now only looks like that existing surface. So if you look closely, the overall surface is just the existing surface. Okay, it disregards the parking lot surface because the parking lot surface was pasted first, and the overall surface that included the parking lot area was pasted second. Okay, so that order matters. All right, so you want to paste from the outer surface. Okay, that bigger surface, you want to paste it first, and then you would want to paste the smaller surface second. Okay, if you do it in the wrong order, you can change that order. Okay, so I'll go over here to my surface. I'll right click and I'll go to properties, surface properties here. Okay. And then I can go to definition, and then I can change the order. So I'll take this existing surface now. All right, I'll move it up to the top, showing that I pasted it first. All right. And I'll hit apply and OK. It's going to ask me to rebuild. I'll go ahead and rebuild that surface. And then I'll hit OK, and you'll see that now, all right, you can actually see that parking lot surface in here. Okay. So the order does matter. If you get it out of order, if you put it in the wrong order, then just go back over here to your surface, go to surface properties, and then change that order. Okay. All right. So I want to use that to talk about the order. Okay. All right. But for our surface, all right, all I want is my driveway, and I want my parking lot. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of that overall surface. Okay, I'm gonna get that out of my edits here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and delete that overall one here, so I can do it down here in my tool space. So I'll go ahead and delete that guy. Okay. All right, and then I can rebuild. And now I just have my parking lot in at this point. Okay. And then now I can go ahead and paste my corridor from my driveway and get it as a part of that surface as well. So I'll go ahead and paste it now. The order is not going to matter as much on this one because, like I said, they don't overlap. Okay, they kind of stop where the other one starts. Okay, so the order is not going to make as big of a difference here. So I'll go ahead and right-click on Edits and Paste Surface. And then I'm going to grab the drive surface this time. Okay. 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 So it's kind of hard to see, all right, because of the surface styles being the same. But this is my overall surface. Okay. So it incorporates the driveway, and it also has the parking lot and the pond as a part of it. Okay. All right. So now we have our overall surface with the pond, parking lot, and the driveway. All right. And as I mentioned earlier, we have a couple jagged contours in a couple places, okay, particularly out here in the landscape area, okay. So what I usually do is I just create myself a few feature lines, or excuse me, a few polylines, okay, to clean this up, okay. All right, I had a couple here generated. All right, they're not exactly where the contours are, so I'm going to go ahead and just delete those really quick, okay. So I'll just quickly go through and create a couple polylines. All right, and I usually go like every other contour. All right, I usually start by snapping to one. All right, that allows you to grab the elevation of that contour. I'm just going to best fit, go along through here. Okay, actually, Let me get an arc here. Okay, just kind of best fit, go along through here and create myself a couple contours. All right. Just a series of arcs and lines through here. Okay, just to get myself right into the area where I feel like this contour should lie. Okay, I'll skip over, maybe do another one, a couple over. Okay, really quick. Let's see here. Get a better arc there. Let's start that one over here. All right. Start that one over. Okay. Get myself a couple little contours through here. All right. And so I'll probably need maybe one or two more out here in the landscape area. And then I'll do another couple in the parking lot area. Okay. So let me just get myself one more over here. Let's see. I'll take this guy since he sort of makes a sort of a sharp turn here. And pop them in. This will give you a real-time view of how much time it'll take to create these contours and to clean up your surface here. All right. Okay, and we'll get over here for that one. Okay, that's probably pretty good for out here. It might be useful maybe to do this one as well. Let's just go ahead and do that one really quick. All right, and we are kind of grading by hand at this point, okay, but I'm just making maybe three or four contours out here. All right, if we were doing this completely by hand, which is the way a lot of people are still utilizing the software, okay, you will be making all these contours, okay. So 2 or 3 to me is a lot better than having to go through and grade this whole site by hand, okay. So I'm going to pick that one up, and then I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to pick this guy up. Okay, give me an arc there. Let's see. Get that arc a little bit better there. Okay. All right, so we got the landscape area. Okay, I got a couple contours here to tie this pond back in. Okay, these look pretty good, so I'm just going to go ahead and get those a little bit closer. Okay. All right. And kind of straighten this guy out a little bit. And straighten that one out. Okay. And then go over here into my parking lot. All right. And I'll need a contour here. Okay. This one looks pretty good, the one I had there from before. So I can go ahead and utilize that one. All right. This one's sort of reflective of having a inlet there. So let me just go ahead and grab that inlet from my other one. All right, that was that one I tried to put in initially. So let me just go ahead and copy this guy over. I'm just going to bring that into this drawing real quick. Actually, let's go ahead and just add it in that drawing. That'll probably be a little bit cleaner. So I'm just going to add it to this surface really quick. Okay, so I'm over in my original proposed surface file here, and I'm just going to add that guy in as a contour. That's a polyline, so I'm just going to add in as a contour to represent that inlet. That'll give you a chance to see how to refresh our data shortcut. Okay, and that's going to be our inlet. Okay, so I kind of gets that inlet in, give myself a low point here in that surface. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and save that file. Okay, so I can save that surface. This is my original proposed surface. And then I'll go back over here to my advanced surface file. Okay, all right. It's now telling me I need to synchronize to update my data shortcut, okay, because it wants to update my surface to reflect that inlet. So I'm going to go ahead and click on synchronize. All right. That updated the proposed surface. All right, so that's that proposed surface there, okay. I have not updated my overall surface yet, okay, which has that surface pasted into it. So I'll go ahead and right click and rebuild that one. Okay. And now you'll see that now it reflects this inlet incorporated. Okay. So now this line work here that I had, okay, best fit sort of represents that contour. Okay. And so, you just have to create that line for yourself, but I already have that line available. So I'm gonna go ahead and utilize it. Okay. All right. So we have a series of contours, and if you look here, we'll have 1, 2, there's 2 there, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We got 8 there, and then I have a couple over here. Okay, so we're looking at about 10 contours to clean this surface up. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and grab those. Okay, but first I want to make sure that these contours have elevations on them, so I don't get any zeros. Okay, so I'm gonna look at this guy. That's at 710. That's good. All right, this one is at 712. That's good. This one's at 714. Okay, that's good. And this one's up at 716. All right. And because I snapped, when I first created these, I snapped, okay, to a contour, they came in with an elevation on them automatically. Okay, so I didn't have to worry about putting an elevation on them after the fact because I snapped to a contour when I created them. Okay. All right. So they're all my my polylines. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and select similar and grab my polylines. Okay. All right. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and utilize those. There's a couple others I have here that I didn't create while we were talking. Okay. But I can utilize those. Okay. I'm not confident in this guy. Let me get rid of that one. Okay. All right. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and add it too and see how it turns out. Okay. So those are polylines now. Okay, a series of polylines. I end up with 20 total here. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and make sure I don't have any straight lines here that I don't want to utilize. Okay. Because I've grabbed every polyline in this drawing. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and add those in as contours. Okay. So I go over here to my overall surface, contours, right click, and add. Okay. So same leading factors. And then I'm going to call these cleanup. Okay. Caveat is that I would probably do a couple at a time if I was going through this drawing, so I can kind of be clear as to what contour has caused what to happen to my surface. Okay. All right. So I would probably do a few at a time if I was you instead of doing them all at once. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and do them all at once for this exercise. Okay. All right. So I'll go ahead and I'll add them and I'll click in here. Okay. All right. So it looks like I have a 0 somewhere. Let me check this guy. That was probably the one I wasn't confident in. Let me go ahead and let me get rid of that guy. Okay. Let me go ahead and rebuild that. Okay. All right. So that looks a little bit better. Let me go ahead. I'm going to turn off the parking lot one here so we can see the difference because right now it's showing up as well. So I want to show you that it's cleaned up, that the overall is cleaned up. So let me turn that one off. That's the driveway. Okay, and then I'll turn off the parking lot as well. Okay. All right, so it is kind of trying to tie back in here, which we can clean it up. I'll show you how to do that. All right, but here's my contours. Okay, so you see for the most part, all right, inside of here, these are cleaned up. Okay, we got a couple things we need to handle here in this section. All right, to clean that up. I can probably actually get rid of these other two. Let me see how that one turns out. Okay, let me get rid of these as well. I got a little work I need to do in that section. Okay. Okay. All right, so it looks pretty clean. Like I said, we can do a little cleanup here where the tie-ins occur, okay, to get this a little bit smoother, where these don't really come out like that. All right, but just those couple of little contours that I added in here clean that surface up. Okay, so we have a nice clean surface. Okay, and the last thing I could do is create myself a boundary. I can show you that real quick quick to get rid of this situation. It looks like I have a, yeah, that's what it is. I have a polyline out here that I didn't notice, okay, that that was added to that surface, okay, so that's why it's kind of jutting off here in the space, okay. So let me go ahead and rebuild that again. Okay, so now that goes away, okay. All right, so there's your surface. I mean, just by utilizing the corridor out here in the driveway, we got a nice clean surface out here in the driveway. We utilized polylines for the pond, so we got a nice clean pond there. All right, we used the polyline around the building. Okay, so that's how we did that. And then we had a ditch out here. We used feature lines for the ditch, and then we just came back and used a couple polylines to clean up our contours out here. Okay, and we got a little bit of cleanup we can do, which won't take long. Okay, but we have a nice clean surface with clean contours and a surface that I feel like, you know, engineers would be okay with. Okay, so just by adding a couple of polylines there, we were able to clean that surface up and get ourselves a nice clean surface. Okay, if you had polylines sort of jutting out like we had before, you can add yourself a boundary in on the outside of this surface. Okay, and what you would want is just a boundary to represent the outside of that surface, you know, something that surrounds the surface, sort of like this guy. Okay, and you just add that in as a boundary to your surface just by going up here to your surface, by right clicking over here on definition under boundaries and adding yourself an outer boundary. We get rid of those contours sort of jutting out into space like we saw before. All right, that's pretty much what I wanted to cover with you guys, how to quickly clean up your surface and how to quickly create a surface. You know, a site like this, you know, you can create a surface in no time and go ahead and get that surface cleaned up and looking nice and pretty, and utilize the program. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Joe. I'm going to go ahead and get the PowerPoint back up, and we can cover the rest of the PowerPoint.
Thanks very much, Corey. Really appreciate you kind of showing us around. At this particular time, are there any questions on anything?
You can feel free to put it in the chat if you like, and we can address those questions. Any questions out there?
All right, I don't see any popping up, so I'm assuming everyone's good on that. So, yeah, thanks again.
All right.
A little bit of housekeeping here. Wanted to make you aware of some other webinars that we do have upcoming here on September 17th, leveraging the full potential of BIM 360. So we have that. I believe that's going to be handled by our construction specialist, Matthew Keck, on that. Also, BIM 360 Build, place for contractors on October 17th as well. We'll be doing a Who's Got Time for you know, Bluebeam and ways you could save time within your projects on the 19th of November. And then I think Brody on our end is going to be handling that. And then lastly, from Field to Revit, the BLK 360 workflow explained, you know, right before Christmas on December 17th. As always, we do have some live events that you can be aware of. We have product design event that's going to be at the HP headquarters in Atlanta on the 17th of September. We also have the annual AIA Charlotte Golf Tournament at Old Sycamore. Always definitely a good time on September 19th. There'll be a lot of folks from TPM there as well. And then finally, the live product design event at NC State on the 27th. So yeah, mark your calendar, folks. If you have any questions on that, definitely feel free to you know, reach out to us here at TPM for any questions.
All right, Joe, I did notice that we did have a couple questions come in into the chat here. I think Christy had asked about updating the grading with the polyline that I created. And yes, if that grading, that polyline that was created from the grading, let me go back to that file real quick. This guy for the outside of this grading here, All right, if I update my grading object, then that feature line is a part of that grading object, and that feature line itself updates at that point. And so I added it to the surface, okay, to my overall or my proposed surface. So if I update my grading object, it will update this feature line, and then you'll have to rebuild to update your surface associated with that feature line. So yes, that's the one thing about using that feature line is that it is a part of the grading object. Okay, so as the grading object is updated, that feature line is updated as well. And honestly, sometimes I like to just sort of copy that feature line, or I'll explode my grading object and just use that feature line so that I don't accidentally update my grading object and have that feature line update, and then the surface updates as well. So yes, it is a part of the grading object, and it will update. Okay. All right. So if we don't have any other further questions, and we appreciate you guys attending the webinar. Thanks for taking your time and hanging out with us this morning. And we hope you guys have a great rest of your day.